Innovation of Agricultural Technology and Business Practices in the Great West by Group 3.
Farming technological improvements.
Barbed wire, or bob wire, was patented in 1873 and invented by Joseph Glidden. It was a very beneficial tool used by ranchers that kept cattle from roaming freely. Barbed wire was very pleasing to ranchers, which were fairly poor, because it was inexpensive and wood and other tools were very scarce and hard to come by. The invention of barbed wire also caused tension between ranchers and cowboys it, because it restricted cattle from flowing freely along the prairie, which were a major economic resource for cowboys, and the loss angered cowboys because their inability to capture the cattle resource, which causes their cowboy economy to decline.
All my game today.
The invention of barbed wire made lives for cowboys very difficult. It restricted cattle from flowing along the prairie, which were a major economic resource for cowboys, and this loss angered cowboys. This scene is an example of the events that occurred when tension erupted between cowboys and ranchers.
What in the tarnation is this contraption?
This is a barbed wire fence. I just finished putting it up this morning.
What's it for?
To keep the cattle in, they keep on running away.
Well, you're taking away good meat and hide. I ought to wring your neck.
You should have bought some of your own.
I'm taking this down. Don't touch me.
Death was also a result of many of the tension that was raised between cowboys and Indians.
The refrigerator car. The refrigerator car ended the cowboy stage. It allowed people to send meat and other foods hundreds of miles without going bad in specific temperatures. It was made simply by insulating a railroad car with ice on the roof, walls, and floors. Some cars were different and only insulated through the roof. People could send fruit, meat, and milk from deep in the west to states in the north and south. This allowed ranchers to kill cattle on their own farms in the west and not have to herd them hundreds of miles and risk losing many cattle on the way to the northern states and southern states, trying to get them to the major cities in the United States.
The improvements of windmills and pumps attracted ranchers and farmers to the Great Plains in the 1860s and 1870s. Farming on the Great Plains depended on a series of technological innovations. Lacking in rainfall, farmers had to drill wells several hundred feet into the ground to tap into underground aquifers. Windmill-powered pumps were necessary to bring the water to the surface and irrigate fields. Windmills in the Great Plains employed wheels and vanes made from wood combined with cast iron and steel mechanical components. Farmers and other manufacturers would sometimes paint them bright colors to make them look like the other farm machines. Steel windmills happened in the 1870s. The production of steel mills gradually took the place of wooden mills in the 1890s. In the 1920s, some residents of the Great Plains began to use windmills to produce electricity for domestic use. Over the years, windmills became visual icons in the Great Plains.
John Deere was born in Vermont in 1804. In 1825, he started his very successful career as a blacksmith. Then, later, in the 1830s, he moved to the West when the tough times came. Wooden plows could not plow the rich soil of the Middle West without breaking. John Deere thought about this predicament and was convinced the only plow that could till the Midwest soil would be the plow made of a good steel that could last many years without rusting and keep the farm moving smoothly. The steel plow was essential for crop growing farmers in the West who needed such a tool that could help them do their daily tasks in living in the Middle West.
The nature of farming changing as a business.
After the Civil War, farming in this country changed. There were no slaves left to harvest crops and tend farms. This portion of the land would have to begin anew. Most plantations fell into ruin. This wouldn't continue forever. Crops, buildings, and land were all replaceable. Many paid off debts and reclaimed land. The largest concern of planters was who would work the land. Farming was difficult and paid very little, so many workers would start the jobs only to leave in order to find better paying work. Due to former slaves needing occupations, tenant farming was established to keep plantations functioning.
Dependence of railroad.
Railroads, a system of transportation developed during the 19th century that spans multiple miles in an effort to tie the country together. With the governmental authority and help with finance, the railroad companies received land grants of public acres that they sold and traded with in order to lay track. Although there were some private landowners who disliked the ideas of railroads and stopped construction on their properties by lawful right-of-way, attorneys and lawyers helped to settle cases in favor of railroad companies' course of action. With well over 15,000 men, full of dexterity in all areas of work, building the venture was moving at rapid pace, aside from minor companies. The need for machines, machine tools, oils, and various metals, and large quantity set up increasing business opportunities, which gave railroad companies an economic advantage. As many people had become attracted to the new development, they used the trains and were influenced in the way they lived. During the time of workers on the railroad having pulling sleepers and there were complaints, the companies dictated over whether to oblige to their wants, leading to the brutal rebellion of the staff. The railroad companies, with their growing power and influence, began to create a monopoly, controlling many operations of the newly developed economic business. With the new form of transportation, settlements had no need to be just self-sufficient, as the trains brought into existence nationwide trade with the states. The companies began to stabilize the situation by taking initial measures of controlling all the prices, making raw materials and paid labor prices lower, and charging customers more who couldn't survive without their help, issuing unreasonable high rates. The constant abuse led to the complaining of individuals to forming a Supreme Court case where the government was given the right upon decision to regulate commerce. In all, the companies controlled many lives of people in the West as they did business.
Group 3, consisting of Caitlin, Michael, Stephen, Song, Cole, Luke, Brandon, and Saquon.
Our sources include